Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is talk about two brands that sort of would be medium priced ones for good watches with their own manufactured movements. One is Girard-Perregaux, and Girard-Perregaux goes way, way back, very old brand. And the other is Glashütte Original. And Glashütte Original used to be part of one of the old Soviet era East German brands, and a lot of things happened, and they finally came together. And after the German reunification, and became a sort of a very good, medium good German brand. By medium good, I probably should say medium price-wise. Now, what's happened since I first did a video on both of these, prices have gone up a lot. So we're going to, at the end of the video, I wanted to take a look at some sort of, I guess you could call it good news about either one of these brands. Okay. I tried to keep the prices relatively the same, but that was impossible because there's so many differences, but most of them are pretty close. First one is Girard-Perregaux Laureato Absolute TI 230. I have no idea why it's called that, but it's sort of interesting. This is an automatic with 28,800 semi-oscillations per hour. This is 4 hertz. Just about all of them, not all of them, but just about all of them are 4 hertz. So that part is not significant in a number of respects as we look at these. The Senator, I've always sort of seen that as the top of the line. Now they have the watches that I looked at for both manufacturers were what I call within reasonable, not too crazy range. I think the very highest was that I looked at was maybe $20,000. Which is a lot of money, but they have them up over 100,000 with these tourbillons, and so when I say reasonable, it's contextual. This one I really like a lot. The Glashütte Original Senator Excellence. It's a nice watch, $8,700. It's got a silicone hairspring. Now, Glashütte Original was bought by Swatch, and Swatch decided to stuff all of these silicone hairsprings in their watches. That's why they have silicone hairsprings. However, a lot of the Glashütte Original ones had some interesting regulators, curve regulators, and they needed something that could be adjusted, and bless their hearts, Swatch let them keep them because they're very interesting regulators. We'll take a look at them. So these are the first two I just looked at. These are sort of like, I sort of on not the tip-top side, but up sort of on the higher side of these two brands. Now, these next two, one is a chronograph. Both chronographs, I look at these chronographs, and my God, these things are pretty expensive. $13,600 for the Glashütte Original, and the Girard-Perregaux was $15,900. Again, they're pretty close in terms of price, but this is what, I mean, they seem to have been like about half that price a few years ago. I mean, it's really a lot. The Glashütte Original is called the CQ. It's part of a CQ series, CQ chronograph. And they had something, they call it regulator-free fine adjustment. Not sure what they meant by that. With the silicone hairspring, they all have to be free sprung if they have the silicone hairspring. And so I'm not sure how you have a regulator-free fine adjustment. I'm not sure in which you're able to adjust unless it's possibly the beat, because you can't adjust the length of the spring. Silicone springs they're too brittle to adjust. Now, the Um, Luriato Absolute Chronograph. They didn't have a lot of chronographs. Neither brand seemed to. They had some, but most of the chronographs that they had, I mean, some beautiful chronographs that Girard-Perregaux had, but they were sky high in price, and so I just sort of passed them up. This one looks something almost like a diver for time to get out. Uh, Now this next two, these are the more expensive ones. The Girard-Perregaux Free Bridge and the Glashütte Original Senator Cosmopolite. I like these two, and I'm not sure why. Okay, now in the Girard-Perregaux, they don't use silicone hairspring, but this particular one has a silicone balance and a silicone. Parts of the balance wheel are silicone, and the escapement is silicone. Now, I don't have a problem with silicone in the escapement and the balance wheel because they don't act any differently than your transitional metals do, insofar as something can be done with them. Whereas with the hairspring, you can't adjust the hairspring with silicone. The many advantages to silicone, but traditional watches. Now, the free bridge, there's one of the groups they have, or one of the categories that Girard-Perregaux had, are called bridges. I believe they won the grand prize some years ago with one of their bridges. Of course, it was bridges with tourbillons. They had 3 bridges. Now, this one only has one down at the bottom. And so for that line, this is the least expensive. So you can imagine what the other ones were. This one, the Glashütte Original Senator Cosmopolite, I'm not sure how you say it exactly, 21,700. I really like this watch. Now, this is one of the ones, this caliber 8902 has a 3 hertz frequency instead of the 4 hertz. It's 21,600 semi-oscillations per hour. Something about this watch I really, really like. It's got the small seconds world time, day-night indicator, and then an additional 12-hour I guess sort of hand adjustment of some type. Down at about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock maybe, there are these 2 little windows, and one has DST and the other one has STD. So those are related to daylight time and standard time. This is something about this watch I just like a whole lot. It's sort of, I like too many watches. These two I like. Now, again, these are another 2 I really like. The 1966 Orion is $10,000. It's just a nice, very good looking watch. The date window could be bigger, but other than that, I think a bigger date window would take away from sort of the, I don't know, the quiet elegance of this watch that I like. Now, the panel reverse, one of my super favorite Glashütte originals. In terms of talking about it, they have the Glashütte 3/4 plate with stripe finish. Stripe finish is pretty much like Geneva ways. They have a balanced bridge engraved by hand, and plates and bridges, rhodium plated surface, beveled edges, screw mounted gold chatoons, polished screws, duplex swan necks, fine adjustment on the dial side. Okay, now if you look between about 6 o'clock and 3 o'clock, you see this sort of looks like a little bug or something. These 2 wings, and the 2 wings are these 2 swan neck regulators. The one on the right is for regulating the spring, and the one on the left is for, or when I say the spring, I'm referring to the balance. No, I'm not. I'm referring to the frequency, the one on the right. The one on the left towards 6 o'clock is for the beat. For adjusting the beat. The beat is where you have semi-oscillations. They go, I think it's around 260 degrees. They go 260 degrees one way, and then they should go 260 degrees the other way. The extent to which they have the same semi-oscillation degrees, and you got your beat right. If they're off, then you can adjust it with this. This is another one of those watches that I happen to I really like a lot. Now, the Girard-Perregaux and Glashütte original both have tonneau or rectangle shaped watches. The one on the right is a new color. They have it right below the 12 o'clock. There's this little window, and that's a 12-hour chronograph window. And then you have it's a column wheel flyback. Now, this one is, again, like I said, there weren't a whole lot of chronographs in either one of these brands compared to some other brands. But this one, and this is a new color called Disco Blue. It's called the 70s chronograph panorama date. Big date window, interesting looking watch, a very interesting color, sort of almost turquoise. It looks like it came out of Tiffany's. Now, the Girard-Perregaux, this is funny. It's called the Girard-Perregaux Vintage 1945 XXL large. That XXL means extra, extra large, date and moon phases. But then you look at the size of it, 36.10 by 35.25. That's not extra, extra, extra large. That's sort of medium to small. On the other hand, the Glashütte original 70s is about a 40 millimeter. Two interesting watches. Now, these two watches represent sort of getting back to earth a little. The Glashütte original has one that's called the 60s annual edition, and each new edition has a different color and a different something on the dial that's different. There was one I like a lot. It's sort of this orange with a lot of texture on the dial. This one sort of was a gunmetal blue that's very smooth. They had a different one. Now, the thing about this is about $6,700, which was sort of like the most common. I mean, this is sort of the mid-range just a few years ago, and now it's the very bottom price on this. Now, the same with Girard-Perregaux. Notice that they're both from the 60s. I don't know what it was about the 60s. This is the 60s annual edition, and then the 1966 40 millimeter, $9,100. Both watches have sort of the simple Calatrava kind of simplicity to it. Both of them also have a little more color, or at least color options on them. So these watches are, the thing about them is that they are pretty expensive. The good thing, though, is that on the secondary market, you can find some very, very good deals. Let me just give you a few examples here. I found one, vintage 1945, was for $1,201 on C24, on Chrono 24. What I did, I went to Chrono 24, I looked at some of the Shop Worn and the Joma Shop and eBay, and just sort of looked around. Didn't take me long. And I say that because I think there's some great deals here. The Girard-Perregaux Laureato, BMW Oracle Racing, 4,200. The Glashütte Original Senator, Carré. Now, Carré is one that has been discontinued. I mean, it's sort of like a lot of discontinued ones. Something about it I always liked. This was 3,100 pre-owned. Glashütte Original Senator Navigator. That's an interesting watch. This is 3,400. All of those I've mentioned so far I found on Chrono 24. Now, I went and took a look at Joma Shop and there was a Girard-Perregaux. It was called the Vintage 1948. Now remember, the ones that we just looked at was Vintage 1945. Well, they had one, I guess, was called 48. It retail was 11,800, and it was for sale unworn on Joma Shop for 38.50. Another one I found, Glashütte Original Senator hand date, Joma Shop, 42.50. Now, the two at the bottom, one is the ones we just looked at, the Glashütte Original 60s. This is I think it's one of their annual editions, and when they had blue, color blue. Now, this was 52.74. Now, you might say, well, the other one was 6,400. That's not much of a saving. Well, $1,200 is, for me, that's pretty good savings, and I sort of like that color blue better than I did the other one anyway. Girard-Perregaux, 1966. This is the one we just looked at. Exactly. It was $9,100 or something like that. And here it is on eBay. It is pre-owned for $57.57. Okay, so those are my observations, I'll say, about these two brands. And like I say, they sort of represent really good quality watches, sort of in the middle. And like to, if you have one, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it. I've never had either one of them. I have had a couple watches with a Girard-Perregaux movements, but I never had a Girard-Perregaux yet. So let me hear what you think. And this is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.